And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host and author, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome back one of my favorite authors and humans, the incredible New York Times bestselling author, Lisa Unger, who's going to give us the inside scoop on her brand new book, Close Your Eyes and Count to 10. Lisa, welcome back to Mystery and Thriller Mavens.
Thank
Tell us
you.
about the book.
Well, yeah. So Close Your Eyes and Count to 10 is about a extreme game of hide and seek in an abandoned hotel on an island in the Atlantic. It's about single mom Adele who, kind of goes for broke to head to this extreme game of hide and seek, and the prize is $1,000,000. And she thinks that this is like the way that she is going to support her family and get some security for herself. And, also she thinks, well, it's an extreme game of hide and seek, on We Watch, which is like my fictional YouTube. So how real can it be? But when a gigantic storm sweeps in, the stakes suddenly go from $1,000,000 to, am I going to be able to get home to my family? And that is the setup for Close Your Eyes and Count to 10.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have so many questions because there is so much to talk about in this book. I mean, the characters in both the contestant side and on the on Maverick and Angeline and the cast of people who are running the extremes side. And oh my God, it is just so juicy. So we have so much to talk about. So just want to welcome everybody because we are broadcasting live to 7 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So hey, mystery and thriller loving friends, no matter where you're watching from, you are in the right place. It is the right time. It is Mystery Monday. And because Mondays can be murder, we are going to make it a little less painful and get your week off to a killer start. So if you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, welcome. Here's the drill. You get to ask New York Times bestselling author Lisa Unger anything you want. Just get those questions going in the comments and we will jump right into them. Randy is joining us live from YouTube. He says, hi, Sarah. Hi, Lisa. My wife and I are looking forward to reading this book. And so thank you, Randy. I love your little black cat. So on brand. And yes, so many of us look forward to every single Lisa Unger book because Lisa, you continue to up your game of writing extreme thrillers, keeping the twists and turns. Tell us about from writing book number 1 to writing book number 20.
22. This is 22. Yeah.
Oh my God, amazing. So first of all, I just want to know, how do you stay creatively energized to keep producing 22 books? Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I started my first book when I was 19. And I just finished my 23rd book and turned it in and, whatever, no secrets. I'm 54 this year. So I have been writing since I was a kid. I don't remember being anything else but a writer. And I've always just been sort of, really motivated by story and character. I've always had these like strange thoughts and obsessions and people in my head. And it's just naturally kind of found its way onto the page. And it's actually harder for me not to write than it is for me to discipline myself and find the time to write. Like, it's really just, for me, like, other than with my family and, my in my life, my friends, like the page is where I am the most at home. And, I just kind of live for it. I live for the blank page and all the possibilities there and diving into character and story. And it's just one of the things I love the most. So I just like, it's really an intrinsic motivation. There's really no external motivation. It's all about the writing and the characters.
I love what you said. The page is where I'm most at home. That's so beautifully and so heartfelt. And I think as readers, the page is where we are most at home as well, right? So many of us have found ourselves at home on pages where we read about lives that are very different than our own, or sometimes are like our own and give us a roadmap forward. And that's just so beautifully said. I love that, Lisa.
Yeah, and I think we're all writers are readers first. That's where we fall in love with story and the pages of somebody else's book. And, I was like, my family traveled a lot when I was a kid. So it was like always the new kid, always in a new school, always like sort of felt like on the margins, just sort of like outside looking in. And but as long as I had a book or a notebook with me, then I was okay. Like I had somebody, I had something, even if it was just, this fictional world, I could go there. So I've always felt like it's like a portal you could just walk through, an escape hatch.
I love that image of a portal, and it's so true,
Yeah.
transporting us into worlds that are very different, or sometimes
Yes.
giving us a roadmap forward. I love that.
Mhm.
John is joining us from Northeast Ohio on Facebook. Hi, John. Welcome. And we have Sharon joining us on YouTube saying, hi, Sarah and Lisa. Hi, Sharon. And Lisa, actually, Sharon came to our event last year at the launch that we held at the Diary of the Wimpy Kid store.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah. How exciting.
Yay.
So an unlikely story.
An unlikely story.
Yeah.
My brain froze. An unlikely story. And Sharon's been with me for 5 years, but that was the first time we ever met in person when I was with you, Lisa. And now we're all together again on the screen.
That's so nice. I love that. That's so cool.
Yay, Sharon. So great to have you. Lisa, this book, as so many of your books, is earning incredible praise. And I want to talk about some of that. But first, I just wanted to start off with this fabulous quote from Sarah Michelle Gellar, because she said what so many of us love about your books, which is Unger is great at keeping you interested and not seeing all the twists that are coming, with a fabulous cat and mouse game. And that is so true in this book. And frankly, in all of your books, I never see the end coming. You are that rare author that keeps me guessing and often usually wallops me at the end. So how do you do that? Do you write it all out and then you're like, oh, I should make it a little twistier, and you go back and you twist some things up? Or do you know the end when you start? Because I didn't see any of this coming.
Yeah, I don't know the end when I start. When I start, like in this case, like, it was like, and oftentimes it's like a collision of things, right? Like that starts a book. Like I'll have like kind of an obsession, right? Something that I'm researching, something I'm really thinking about, something that I'm like probably annoyed about, questioning, etc. And then, in this case, there was like this moment where this like love at first sight moment with a setting. And the thing that I had been thinking about and questioning kind of collided with an experience that I had. And so that's a lot of the times that's the way it works. In terms of like, what is the impetus? What is like the thing that brings me to the page that's like, okay, I have a voice in my head. I'm ready to start writing. And so when I sit down to write, I don't really have I definitely don't have an outline. I'm not totally sure who's going to show up day to day, what they're going to do. I don't really know what the book is going to be about. And I definitely don't know how it's going to end. So everything develops on the page for me, the very, very much the way it does for my reader. Like a lot of my process is like deeply subconscious. So, and I know this well enough to know, since I have been writing since I was a kid, that if I write something on page 50 and I'm not really sure what it's doing there or what the point is, that probably by page 100, I'm going to be like, oh, right, that thing that I wrote on page 50, that's why, right? So this is kind of how it's worked for me, and it has always worked for me. So I don't do it like when I reach the end of a first draft, which usually takes about 9 to 12 months. It's very it's structurally, it's probably pretty close to the way it's going to be. Not to say there's not a ton of editorial work. That's my draft. Every draft that comes after is the draft for my reader. Like, did I bring everybody along for this ride that I had in my head? But structurally, like, I'm not making too many intellectual decisions, right? Like, I'm not going back and like, I don't have like the idea at the beginning, like, I want to write a book about X. Like, that doesn't happen for me. Like, I just say, I have somebody in my head. I hear a voice. I see a thing. I need to get it out. And then it starts to evolve. So that's kind of how it works. And I don't do a lot of like, if something's not working for my editor, or I need to, or I know that something needs fleshing out, or something needs trimming back, or like there's a big, like, I don't know what, like a big research dump that like grinds the narrative to a halt or whatever. Like, those are all the things I think about and look at, but there's not like, oh, I'm going to go back and add in some more twists. Like, that's not how it works for me. Like, I don't have everything that is evolving on the page. It's an organic process. It's an organic story. Hopefully all the twists feel like you didn't see them coming, but they feel completely like, oh, like when it does happen. Like, so I'm looking for, or I'm feeling for an organic, an organic way through the plot. Not like, I'm not looking to engineer a plot that has twists. Like it just can't. Maybe I wish I could do that, but I can't.
I think this is plenty twisty. I think you're a naturally twisty, pretzel-like woman.
Thank you.
Organically pretzel-y, because this is very, very twisty. Oh my goodness. We have Deborah saying, I finished it last week. Twists! Exclamation point. 4 exclamation points. Very good.
Thank
Deborah,
you.
I love your rainbow picture there.
Thank you.
So Lisa, as I was reading, I was reminded that at Thriller Fest 2022, you and your family flew from Thriller Fest in New York to the beautiful islands of the Azores.
Yes.
And while everyone else was enjoying the beautiful beaches, you, Lisa Unger, went to a creepy hotel that had fallen into disrepair, where there were signs, there was graffiti all over. It was crumbling. It was deserted, probably haunted. Signs of danger: do not enter, peligro.
Definitely. Yes.
And of course, you spent your vacation there.
Yes.
And as I was reading, I was like, oh my God. Because I remember you posting these pictures. I was like, that place is absolutely terrifying and probably haunted. Yeah. Could this be it? And then I got to the end. Lisa Unger, tell us that story.
Yeah. So we went to the Azores, and this was like the first trip after COVID, right? This was like, was it 2020? It was 2022, right? We had not had been anywhere through all of COVID, and we still had to test to leave the country. You still had to take these COVID tests. Remember how you'd like take your test and like sit in front of the computer and like do all that. Anyway, so we left and we went to the Azores, and the Azores, if you haven't been there, it's absolutely stunning, gorgeous, beautiful volcanic islands, Portuguese islands, and just like very dramatic, incredibly beautiful, fecund, like wild blooming hydrangeas everywhere, just absolutely green and untouched, really untouched by like commerce. It's just very, very beautiful. And so we were staying in a wonderful hotel, and we wound up taking an excursion to hike the rim of a volcanic lake. And so, which is the kind of thing we do when we're on vacation. Like, I don't know why, but anyway, we were out there and a gigantic storm swept in. And we were sent racing back to our rental car, which is like, okay, fine. Who really wants to hike anyway? So we get in the car, we go back, like, let's go to the spa, blah, blah, blah. On the way back, we come across this abandoned structure. It's gigantic. It's like a black behemoth, like reaching out of the green. It was like a crumbling ruin. I just was like, what is that? Oh my God. And then like signs everywhere, like in Portuguese, not entra, peligra, like in any language, stay away. And I was just kind of like, well, they don't mean me, right? Like, I'm a thriller writer. I'm like allowed to go wherever I want. So with my daughter, and of course, my daughter is used to like sort of semi-safe excursions, so we all kind of went into this hotel, and it was like, and you can see the footage on Instagram, and there's a lot more footage that, over the next couple of weeks I'll be posting, but it's, covered with graffiti, crumbling, trees growing out of concrete, like foliage dripping off of the interior balconies, like nature's just taking it back. Every window's gone, wind howling, empty elevator shafts. Like, it was just beautiful. It was the most beautiful place I've ever seen. This crumbling ruin. I was like, there is literally no way that I am not writing about this place. Like, I have to write about it. It was just that dramatic and amazing.
Oh my God.
So, yeah. So that kind of collided with my other obsession of the moment, which was like YouTube celebrity, that kind of thing. And it just seemed to be like a perfect union of my stuff that I had going on.
Well, it was so crazy. So for anyone who is missing out on Lisa's every riveting move, go follow her immediately on Instagram. Here it is. She is LA Unger.
Yeah.
Because I remember you posting these videos of this beautiful, crumbling, decaying, but so beautiful in its decay hotel. And it just looked like the perfect site for a murder or a ghost, something terrifying. And to see that come now to us on the page was so fun. So everybody, this was shared. She's going to be posting a lot of those videos. You're not going to want to miss out on this. The actual crumbling ruin of a hotel that inspired enchantments.
Enchantments. Yes.
Enchantments, the fictional hotel on the page. So you're not going to want to miss that. So go follow Lisa so you can see the real hotel that inspired. Abraham, welcome to the conversation. Thank you for joining us. Nicole saying she read it and she loved it. Nicole, great to have you here. Thank you so much. And I just want to let you guys know that we have, I always say, signed books make the very best gifts. And I'm thrilled to be able to offer you all signed books through our partner in crime, woman-owned independent bookstore, Murder by the Book. So whether you're watching with us on Facebook or YouTube, here is that link that you can get a signed copy. Lisa was there last week at the store. She signed a bunch of books for us tonight. So you can place your order and just say in the comments on your checkout, I would like a signed copy, please. And the good folks at Murder by the Book will ship that out to you tomorrow. I want to let you know Mother's Day is coming up. Father's Day is coming up. Gift it to yourself, gift it to yourself, give yourself the gift for your reader, and maybe the reader is you. A signed book is a perfect gift. Here is that link. So Lisa, as you were walking through the ruins, were you like, oh my God, I'm going to write about this, or it came to you later?
I really thought I was going to write about it, but a lot of these things kind of just, it's going to happen, or maybe you don't know it's going to happen, and then it kind of organically turns up on the page. So
Okay.
it was a little bit of a combination of that. Like I was already very sort of in thought about the concept of YouTube celebrity and this sort of like hide and seek, which honestly is not, the hide and seek part is like not the biggest part of the book. The biggest part of the book is why people came to play this game. Because in my sort of experience with these extreme games of hide and seek, which Ocean, my daughter, loved, and we used to watch them on YouTube, and we were like, she'd be very into these like these people who
Wait,
were like,
this is a real thing? I thought you made that up.
No, it's real. People do this. So they do it in like haunted houses and like in asylums. Yeah, it's like a whole thing. So like I had been watching this kind of thing with my daughter, my very young daughter, and I was like, honey, it's not real. It's staged. If there's a camera on you, you're not hiding. Like that's just the truth. She's like, no, Mom, it's real. It's like, jump scare and all this. I'm like, okay, cool. And so I was really interested in that generational disconnect, right? Where she had, she'd grown up with like seeing this kind of stuff and thinking like there's something real. And I was watching it with her, just kind of, just to be with her, just to, have that time. And also, just watching whatever she's watching and helping her metabolize it. And then for me, it was just like, oh my gosh, it's obviously staged. So for me, like, that piece of it was really important for Adele, who's my single mom. And when we first meet her, she has like, she's in despair. She's in the principal's office with her son. Her son is being bullied. He won't say by him. His glasses have been smashed. And he is, he's just like this gentle giant. He's like this big guy. He's been through trauma. His people who he thought were his friends and he hopes are going to be his friends again, have turned on him and they're treating him terribly. And she's just in a place of just complete despair. And then that's what I knew about Adele when the story started. And then through the rest of that chapter, we see, what's happened to her. Her husband has left her, and his children. He's embezzled money. He's gone. He's on the run from law enforcement, and she's kind of created her own We Watch channel about how she got herself in shape after adversity, started doing these competitions. and she's kind of helping other people find their way back from, difficult times, get strong, don't break down, get strong, don't get even, get fit, that kind of thing. Right. So she's got her whole thing going, and she's like in the basement, and she's like doing her heavy bag, just beating out her frustrations because she's got a lot of them. And Blake comes down and he's like, Mom, Maverick Dillon, like the guy he's obsessed with, like his YouTube obsession, he's hosting a game of extreme hide and seek on this island. And guess what? The prize is $1 million, because he knows, right, that she's worried about money and that he's broken his glasses and she can't afford to fix them. Right. And she's like, okay, what, really? Yeah. Hide and seek, Mom. All you have to do is hide and not get found. The prize is $1 million. And Adele's like desperate, stressed, tired, sad.
So tired.
And she's like, okay, I'm going to apply. How hard can it be? It's fake. It's staged. Right. Like that's like what she brings to it, which is what I brought to it. Right. And it's not, it's all for the cameras. So either I win or I don't, but at least even if I don't win, it's going to give me more rewatch viewers. Right. So she made
that monetize for SpawnCon sponsorship support her children. SpawnCon, I love that.
Right, it's support her children. And so like she thinks that she's going there because she thinks she needs $1 million. She thinks that's what she needs and that's what her children need. And so she's willing to risk a trip and a stunt to go do that. But then when she gets there, it's like the stakes become very real, very fast. And it's no longer $1 million. It's like, how am I going to get back to my kids?
It's like, how am I going to live?
How am I going to live? Live to fight another day, like Wild Cody says.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tracy, welcome to the conversation, joining us from YouTube. She says, hi, Sarah. Hi, Lisa. Congratulations on your new book. Is there a story you would love to write, but you don't feel ready to give it a go quite yet? Great question, Tracy.
Oh, that is a great question. Things like that, things don't work like that for me. Like I don't have things kicking around and then I'm like, I'm just not ready to write this. But that's not to say that doesn't happen. So I will say, I'll give an example of when this did happen. So when I don't want to get too dark, but when I was a kid, I lived in a really, sort of semi-rural town called Long Valley. And a girl I knew and who I played with on the school orchestra was abducted and murdered. And it was a terrible event, obviously tragic and terrible for our town. And for me as a young girl, as a 15-year-old girl, it was like I felt very much so that the world was one thing before and another thing after. And I had so many questions about how, why her, what did this person do? Like, how could he do this? Who was he? Who hurt him? Like all of these things, right? Like I had all these big questions that I'm still trying to answer today in my fiction. And I had no way of answering them. So I wound up turning and the adults in my life didn't want to answer those questions. And it's only later in life that you realize they don't want to answer the questions because they don't have the answers. Nobody does. Right. And so like you're kind of left alone with it a little bit, when you have the kind of like dark mind that I have, inquisitive, inquiring, obsessive, right? Like you kind of have to find a way to answer questions. So do that on the page and in books, right? In reading. And so, this is not to say that I was haunted by this, but it's definitely something that I carried with me for the rest of my life. And it tried to find its way onto the page over the years. It tried in like a short story. And, there might have been, you might glimpse pieces of it in other books. But then I was about 25% through my novel Fragile, which is my first book set in my fictional town called The Hollows. And I was about 25% through, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is where it finds its way to the page. And I knew it, instinctively, like it wasn't like a retelling of the event, but it was all the things that I brought forward with me, all the things that were mine to tell. I never wanted to retell that story. I don't want to cause anybody any more pain, but there are pieces of it that are mine. And
Mm.
so I I was about 25% through, and that's when I realized. And then when the book was done, I realized that I needed to be a grown up, not a
Mm.
kid. I needed
Mm.
to have written 8 novels. I needed to be a mom to
Mm.
understand some of the layers of what, her family went through. And it took all those years for that story to find its way into a novel and to become fully realized. So that's kind of, an example of that kind of thing that I can give. Also, in the New Couple in 5B, the apartment in the New Couple in 5B is the apartment that belonged. It's, recreated from my childhood memories of an apartment that my aunt lived in on Park Avenue, New York City. And, there was something, my aunt was a very beautiful woman. She was very glamorous. She had a beautiful apartment, but there was like a lot of layers there. She was sort of unstable. So like there's this idea from that apartment of like someplace beautiful where you want to feel at home, but you don't feel 100% safe. There's a dark
Mm.
So, but it was like, I mean, that's like, I was a kid. So that apartment has been long sold, but it resurfaced in the New Couple in 5B. So that's kind of how it works for me. Like these things kind of hang around, but they don't like, it's not an intellectual, like I have a story I want to write, but I don't feel ready. It's like, I'm not ready. So I don't even think there's a story. I don't know
Mm.
there's a story until I am ready. If that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you for sharing, the behind the scenes organic process that it is for you, Lisa. This is really, really interesting.
Thank you. Thanks, Tracy. Great question.
Sharon would like to know, Lisa, will you be coming back to An Unlikely Story or some other place in Massachusetts?
Oh, well, I'm sure I will because I love Unlikely Story and I love Massachusetts. And actually, this Wednesday, I will be doing a virtual event with 12 Massachusetts libraries. So I will be virtually doing that on Wednesday with Tim. What is his handle? Tim Talks.
So my friend, actually,
You're
Tim
a good friend.
Ehrenberg, and
Yes.
he is the genius behind Tim Talks Books. And
Yes.
as the handle says, Tim loves to talk about books to his adoring 40,000 followers. He writes fabulous, fabulous reviews. And I work with Tim on the Nantucket Book Festival and the Nantucket Book Foundation. So I'm so excited to see my two friends in conversation. And Sharon, you'll want to tune in for that because Tim is such a great interviewer.
Yes, and I'm sure I always go where I'm invited. So if somebody invites me, I will eventually show up there. So if obviously Unlikely Story is a regular stop. I don't know why I didn't make it onto the tour this year, but I'm sure it'll make it on for next year. It's one of my favorite stores.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of favorites, I just saw that Aline Cogdell has joined the chat. Hi, Aline. Favorite reviewer from the Florida Sun Sentinel, Publishers Weekly, Self-Awareness, so many other places, a jurist for the LA Times Book Prize. Aline is amazing and brilliant and has an unparalleled eye for books. So Aline, thank you so much for being here with us. We're so honored that you would stop by.
That you're here.
Yay. Margaret Pennard is joining us from YouTube saying desperate, stressed, and tired. Sounds relatable. Hey, friends.
Very relatable. Yeah.
Every day. Thank you, Margaret, for saying that. Kathleen joining us from Facebook saying, yes, some stories need to ripen in order to become the story. Yes. Fabulous. Oh, Sharon is already registered for the event on Wednesday. Fabulous. Yay. Margaret saying, and you were conscious of the source as it was flowing out, your story about this young woman who disappeared in Fragile. She said, that's so rare and fascinating. I was thinking the same thing, Margaret. Thank you for honing in on that. Cause I was like, wow, this really feels unusual, but I couldn't figure out why. Thank you for identifying that. You guys, we have just one more minute. So I just want to take this time to remind you that we have signed books available from our partner in crime. That is Murder by the Book. So you can get your signed copy right here, whether you're watching with us on Facebook or YouTube. I'm going to pop it up on the screen again, just so that you can get your mitts on this book, excuse me, which Kathy Reichs calls twisty, riveting, and emotionally intense. You will not close your eyes once you start reading this book. And she is not the only one raving. Excuse me. Kirkus awarding you a starred review. Congratulations on that, Lisa. They said that Unger plunges the reader right into a sense of dread, then skillfully ratchets up the physical terrors of the challenge while revealing one disturbing secret after another. The perils of the real and virtual worlds collide effectively in this relentlessly paced, I love that they said relentlessly paced adventure. Yes. And Sarah Pierce, the New York Times bestselling author of The Wilds, also weighing in with some praise. I'm going to put that in the chat as well. And with her fabulous, talking about it being compulsively readable and packed full of tension from the very first page. Couldn't agree more. So again, whether you're watching with us on Facebook or YouTube, here again is that link. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us again. It's been so great to welcome you back.
Oh my gosh, it's always such a joy to talk with you and to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, yay. All right, you all, that is a wrap. I hope you get your copy. Again, the link is in the chat. And if you've been watching with us and not commenting, that's okay. I see you too. Thank you. Antonio, Shirley, Maricia, Betty, Shelley, Joanne, Joan C, Rob. Oh my goodness, I can't get to everyone. George, John, Sarah with an H. I can't get to everyone, but I see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the hearts on Facebook. And go get a snack, get a drink, and I'll be back at the top of the hour with Boston Globe journalist turned thriller author Clea Simon. You're not going to want to miss this.
Oh, love her.